Good morning, everybody. I'm here with Jose Flores, and today's 7/25/2020. We're doing a webinar video volume 2 for the Final Expense Virtual Sales. The first volumes were me conversating to you mostly, not giving you presentations. So today on the second volume, we have Jose Flores listening in, and he's going to ask a couple questions when he see fit, and I'm going to go ahead and do my dialogue versus my analog. How you doing, Jose, this morning? Tell everybody where you're from. What city, what state?
McAllen, Texas.
Okay, good. What time is it over there?
It's 10 a.m.
Okay. All right, I promise this will take about 30 minutes. But okay, Jose, so Jose, you're one of the agents out there that has been practicing field sales, knocking on doors, setting up appointments, seeing people face to face, kneecap to kneecap, kitchen table setting, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, and so you were doing great before COVID-19, and then COVID-19 happened, crisis happened. You're trying to manage everything. I don't know if you're already managed to go back to what you used to do before and progress from there. Are you okay with everything, or you could always do better doing something else over the phone, or are you still stuck in the COVID-19 situation where people don't want to see you? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I guess the way that I started with working with my customers, basically the requirement was face to face, and now with COVID, different because it's not easy to come at this time right now. But the way that I put it is not like I would call it stuck. What I'm doing is getting prepared to this new way of dealing with this kind of business. And what I've been doing is setting up mailers, setting up giveaways, directing them to my website so they can enter the information. Like for instance, I offer them like $100 in lottery tickets. Once they get the mail, they can go. They can either reply. They can go to the website. They can go to the Facebook page. There are different ways that they can participate in the giveaway. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to prepare everything to be ready to be compliant mostly, and get it rolled maybe in a month or two, so people can start getting back to me. So that's the leads that I'm working right now.
Okay. Thank you for sharing with that. So we don't want to put you in a situation here of being uncomfortable with any income that you have been making, but what I do want to tell you is instead of giving an example on you, I want to give you an example on myself. When COVID-19 happened, and we're talking about doing sales over the phone. This is what this is all about. You really got to listen to this in order to take advantage of any presentations that we're going to have in the next volumes for you to enjoy. But when COVID-19 happened, Jose, I was nervous for 2 days, and I was really scared. I would just fall asleep. But I always remember that when crisis happens, there's always an opportunity. I got to take a look to see how we're going to create this opportunity. The very next day after the 2 days of sleeping, right, and being scared, I said, what do I got to be scared of? There's nothing I got to be scared of. Let's take a look at this. When we hear of people that work in Wall Street, all they do every day is well, they're in their office, right? They do what they have to do to get their office early morning. They're there early morning. They're in New York time. They have to call people from different parts of the country. So if it's 8 a.m. over there, it's 5 a.m. somewhere else. So, or it is another time somewhere else. So they have to be there early morning, and they get degrees so that this way they can have the position they're in, and they go through training without pay. They they just do everything that they have to do to get there, all for what? So that they could earn commissions, and they're not even on salary, right? They earn commissions, and that's what they fight for, and they get a degree, and they so that this way they could make sales. And they're in Wall Street, they're in New York, they're in the buildings, they're making phone calls, trying to call people with money to move their money over. And that's something really, really difficult that I think it probably is very difficult to just receive a phone call from somebody and then trust them and then move the money over the phone. That's almost like, if you really think about it, that's really very difficult, right? But is it done? Yes, it's done. So we can't put it in a resume and go working on Wall Street. So why don't we look at it like this? Excuse me. Why don't we start doing that? Okay. But it doesn't have to be a difficult transaction. It could be a very simple transaction. If it's a simple transaction such as mortgage protection, or it could be basic financial planning or estate planning, basic financial planning, could do some index UL, or it could be even easier, and we could do final expense and do virtual sales over the phone. Do you need a college degree? No, you don't. Do you need to work without pay? No, you don't. The best thing about doing sales over the phone with final expense is that you could get paid right away, Jose. So let me give you an example. If you help me, I'm a consumer, right? And I'm purchasing final expense. I'm purchasing the final expense for a funeral. And I'm going to talk about how quick you can get paid first. Okay. So you approve me over the phone. The best thing to do is to try to do a Zoom video, because you engage the person over video, like what you're doing. You could see my expressions. You could see if I'm bored. You could see if I'm doing something that it's almost like if you're face to face and you engage the person. Okay. If you're doing it just straight out of the phone, like everybody else, they're probably, don't have a shirt on, and they're like, I'm about to go to an important meeting. I can't talk to you, or something. And people lie to us. That's what I'm trying to say. They lie to us. So you gotta make it like if it's face to face, even if you do a Zoom video and you do it over the phone. So anyway, so you're helping me, you're capturing me, and you're engaging me with your script. So make it a short script. You got to capture them in 3 minutes. Then what happens is you ask me the questions. We either do a telephone interview with a third party, or you send me an email, or I sign using my screen. So it depends on how savvy the person is, but you have the opportunity to complete everything over the phone. So one of the clients that I did, I told them, okay, let me give you access to control to your remote, your mouse. And then they signed over the computer with their mouse. So we hit submit. Okay. They wanted the policy right away. Policy got issued the next day. We did an e-check. So when you do an e-check, it's called electronic check. So it's the same as sending them in cash. So the policy got issued the next day, and instead of waiting 3 days after the company received the funds, the commission was already in my account, not more than 2 days later. So that's why final expense is really good to offer. Now, the biggest problem with the traditional insurance agents, don't get insulted. There's people that sell term insurance. I just call them termites. All right. So don't get insulted. Okay. So there's termites out there, and we're teaching them how to do final expense, but then all of a sudden they tell their client, well, but you know what, a term would be better for you because you would have $50,000 of coverage instead of $15,000 coverage for the same price. You know what the biggest problem about that, Jose, is? Biggest problem is that you're falling off a format. I could explain and go on through a lot of other things. I'm going to go ahead and ask for your feedback so we can have a dialogue on what you just told me. Anything new that you hear, give me a little bit of feedback.
far as what you're discussing right now.
Yes.
Yeah, well, basically, you're right what you're saying. Once that you fall into your format that you're saying, you stop listening to the customer. You don't understand their needs, and it's difficult to make the sale. Even if you make it, then the customer is gonna call and is gonna cancel the policy. And you're gonna get a chargeback. So it's very important just to understand, to listen what the customer's needs are, exactly what they are telling you, and how they can fit into the policy. Whether it's a it may be a term, I don't know, but it all depends. It could be, but it could be a whole life. It could be an universal life. We don't know at this point. We need to be with an open mind and seeing what their needs are. If it's to protect the mortgage, if it's to protect the family, if it's college expenses, so we need to be very attentive, listening very careful what the customer is saying, the narrative of the customer, then trying to incorporate that into a policy or multiple policies.
Okay, Jose, and you're the customer right now, so I'm being very attentive to you. And and we're going to be fair because we're going on the assumption here, but what as you as a customer to me, and I'm trying to get you to do final expense over the phone, not just final expense term and so forth, but we want to get you out of the rut from the COVID-19 situation, the crisis, and we want to get you into an opportunity, back to opportunity money making and helping the consumer. So what I definitely see that you need to do, Jose, and the whole people out there watching me, is you need a target market. Okay, so I'm going to explain to you very simple target marketing. I know you know what it means, but let's say that you're in your backyard, all right, and you have your grass you're trying to grow, and you cultivated it, you threw some seeds out there, but you don't have any sprinklers. Okay, you don't have any sprinklers, so you're watering more in one spot than in others. So that's what happens. Okay, so when you're selling term, or you don't know what you're going to sell to the person, you're not, you think you're target marketing life insurance, but you're not target marketing your service. What happens to the grass later when it grows 2 weeks later? There's more green grass over here. There's no grass over here. And that's why you have a sprinkler system that if you install the sprinkler system, it won't be perfect, but it would all grow. It won't be perfect growing even, but grass will grow everywhere. Okay. So what we're trying to do is trying to help you install a sprinkler system. So this way you could target market and you could get everything. So let me give you an example. Okay. A valid example on what I'm going to tell you. I had a meeting, and I do different type of target marketing, and I stick to it. Okay, so I'm doing this target marketing to this person, and this person is kind of grouchy with me. And you know what? I was on my 6th appointment. I didn't take a break. It's a bad excuse for me, but she took me off of my format. And because she took me off of my format, instead of going for the target product that I should have been doing, she took me off of my product, and then she started talking about something that triggered me to talk about that, which was, instead of talking about final expense, I started talking about equity index UL. So I really just wanted to get off the phone with this lady, but what I did wrong was I didn't continue a format. So what happens is, when you don't stay on your pitch and on your script, you and your target market, okay, talking about equity index UL when I should be selling this lady final expense. Okay, what happened was she took control of the situation, wasted 22 minutes of my time. At the very end, she said, "No, I'm not interested." And I was like, "Oh, okay," I hung up, right? And you know what I did wrong right there? What I did wrong was I didn't go with my initial script, and she started leading the conversation, and she was basically the leader to the whole meeting. All right, and what led to that was what started everything was she didn't want to get on Zoom with me, and I'm already used to being on Zoom, so that's what happened wrong right there. So what happened wrong was I should have continued on my my script even without Zoom. Okay, she didn't want to get on Zoom because it was too early in the morning. She didn't brush her hair. It could be anything. So now that's the biggest mistake. So instead of target marketing the final expense, I'm talking about something else because she led me there. So I said, okay, that's enough. That's enough. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm allowed to make mistakes because I was grouchy. I was mad. So I had 30 minutes to just take a break, go outside, take a breather, water my grass. I have a sprinkler system though, but I had to calm down. Went back to the next meeting and I said, I got to start. I got to do what I say I'm going to do. I'm going to target market. I'm going to have a smile on my face. And it's all about giving people an opportunity to experience what I'm going to offer them. So I got back on there, right? And the lady, she didn't want to get on Zoom, but I continued with my script. Okay. And I ended up helping her with $147 a month final expense on her and $168 on the husband, whether I was on Zoom or not on Zoom, but I continued on my script. All right. And I was the leader of that conversation over the phone, not necessarily over Zoom, but I continued my script. Question, Jose?
No, I mean, it's great what you're saying. I mean, that stuff happens to everybody, every agent that is trying to make a living. We always hit the ceiling. We have like a, how can I put it, our own paradigms that we're hitting them. But once that we accomplish, once that we understand what we can do better, I mean, the ceiling, the cap that we're having is not there anymore. We can overpass that, and you accomplished that pretty good.
Right. And that's, I'm going to give you an experience. Now that's on final expense. So I continued targeting it. I talked a little bit about termite just to have a good joke about it, but not trying to insult anyone. So now I'm gonna talk about how there's agents that come in and they want to sell all these other products. So what happens is you take yourself out of the script by going on to a different product, thinking that you're going to help out the consumer by giving them supposedly something better. But Jose, everybody needs final expense. Everyone. And the carrier that we're using, okay, and that we're getting you appointed with has a product that you could offer final expense to a child from age 0 all the way up to an adult up to age 85. That's incredible. So you could offer final expense to anyone. Everyone needs final expense. So the way that I look at it is I'm wearing my coat here. And when I go in to buy a suit, I'm going to need a coat and I'm going to need some trousers, right? So final expense is the coat. Term insurance is the trousers. Equity Index UL is the vest, you know? So what you got to always do is you got to, final expense is the coat. Okay. You could wear any trousers with the coat. Okay. So, right? Am I right, Jose? You could have a nice navy blue coat and wear it with any colored trousers. So final expense goes with everything. Okay. You should look at helping a consumer as if you are their financial services representative versus a life insurance agent. And what you should target, instead of targeting product, is you should target a client permanently. And you start off with one product in their portfolio, which would be final expense. If you picture it in a pie, final expense would be in there as a pie, then term insurance and equity index UL, right? And then some annuities, okay? And so it's a four-piece pie that you can put together. So you offer term insurance to someone that's age 24, 25, okay, go with the term insurance, but eventually they need final expense. So if you're targeting a market, stay with that market. If you're targeting final expense, stay with that. Stay with that. Don't go off into something else. Go with that. And there's a lot of agents that go off. I used to go all over the place before, and I made my money, but it's not a permanent situation. It is a temporary fix. If a client tells you, I'm not interested in final expense, I'm interested in term, but they're 60 years old, why are you going to talk to them about term? And they're like, oh, I'm not interested in final expense for the reason that I'm going to lose my money. I need something in investments. Well, ma'am, right now, let's talk to you about final expense. Let me ask, she's 60 years old. Why are you going to talk to her about investments? Now, on a novice agent, what normally happens is, okay, they end up selling an equity index UL, 300 a month, and you make the money. Okay, great. You're making the money. You're doing whatever you need to do to make the money. But here's a problem. The whole marketing that you have, you help the consumer and you make some money for the week, but the whole marketing system that you have is based on a temporary solution. It's a Band-Aid. It's not permanent. So you're all over the place. And what we want to help you do is target market your situation so you could stay on it. In final expense, did you know that it takes less than 45 minutes to go through a pitch and actually make the sale? Mm-hmm. When with some carriers, we won't mention them, they take like 35 minutes. You take just 35 minutes just to take the application. Right?
Yes.
They have three type of questions for the same question, because you're offering critical, chronic, critical injury, terminal illness benefits on a term insurance policy, and that's great. But it takes you like 35 minutes to complete that. Especially if they're taking medications, 2 or 3 medications, it's going to take you longer. You got to look for the doctor, the medications, they don't have it. Their last blood pressure meeting, they got to go look at it in their agenda, their book, so forth. So you're not moving fast enough. Okay, you're not moving fast enough. So I'm going to give you an example of me. I'm a little bit more advanced, but this week I had 8 appointments on Tuesday. I'm sorry, on Wednesday, and 8 appointments on Thursday. Now here's the situation. It was 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m., 12 p.m., 1 p.m., 2 p.m. Okay, and you got to try to complete those transactions within those days, within those hours. So if you're going to fall off of your target market to try to help somebody else, you're going to actually lose money in your pocket, because it's not a permanent situation. You're not creating a career for yourself. You're falling off of the target. So now you could always come back and help that person and go back to your target market building. So if you're trying to build a life insurance agency and you're in the beginning, I understand you got to go with what you're going to close, right? But with your lead systems, you have to have a lead system that keeps you on your target so that you could keep the script. The script is everything, Jose. I have a script that if you memorize the first paragraph, which is about 4 sentences, that's what you really need to memorize. So what I have agents do is print out the script, so that this way, while you're talking to the person, you're actually reading the script, because you're on a telephone. When you're on Zoom, okay, what I usually do is I have 2 screens. So I have my script on this side and over here in the beginning, so that this way, if I fall off of the script, I could always come back. So you see my eyes going like this a little bit sometimes. Well, right now I'm looking at the timer or whatever. So that's what I could tell you on final expense. Let me tell you what's so important to be a final expense expert, and besides making good income and immediate income right now. Okay, let me tell you. I'm going to use a general number, Jose. So let's say that you sell $100,000 a year selling term insurance. Okay, if there is any royalties or residuals, you are going to earn 1.5% royalties for the year. What does that add up to? 1.5 of $100,000.
$1,000.
$1,500 the second year. Okay. The third year, the fourth year, the fifth year might fall off of the fifth year, might fall off of the 10th year. But what is 7% of $100,000 on funeral on final expense?
Yeah, that's 7,000 now.
That's $7,000.
Mm-hmm.
Would that be a car payment and insurance, or just car payment?
Yeah, no, definitely. A brand new car.
A brand new car, right? So you wouldn't have a problem building your life with that. We all need a car. So that's why if you target market, you would be able to take care of your immediate income with final expense, your tomorrow income with royalties. Okay, because if you make $7,000 in 1 year, that would be about $550. No, that would be about about $570, $583 a month that you would make on the second year. Okay, $583 a month. So when $583 a month comes in and your utilities need to get paid, you don't have a problem. You're paying your utilities first. Okay, so that's how I saw it when I was selling final expense. Jose, you have a question?
No, not really. I mean, everything what you're talking about makes perfect sense.
Okay, so now let's say in the perfect world, you sold for 10 years, $100,000 a year in the perfect world. Okay, that's $1 million. Times that by 7% on an annual basis, that's $70,000 a year in royalties.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me tell you what the two biggest problems why life insurance agents fail. Only 10% of the life insurance agents in the whole America make over $132,000 a year. There's two problems. Let me have you guess what they are. You probably already know them. If not, I'm going to give you an introduction to the real world of life insurance professional sales. Those are the two biggest problems.
Well, I guess probably the biggest challenge would be something like not prospecting enough.
Okay. You're staying on course. That's good. And the two biggest problems why people do not succeed in life insurance sales, why they do not continue to remain in the business. Okay, they can make $100,000 1 year or $140,000 the next, but if they fall off of their market, it's just temporary band-aids. You're going after. You're trying to make money, and you're always flying by the seat of your pants. You're always on the cuff. You're always hanging on the string. You're always hanging on a string. Okay, why? Okay, because you're not on a target market. You're going after what the client is trying to go with, and you don't have that target market. And you control that with leads, targeting your leads. I'm gonna go now and explain the two biggest problems why life insurance professionals, or if you're making 140,000 and you're failing because of these two reasons or under, is because of these two problems. Number one, they don't pay their taxes. Why don't they pay their taxes? If somebody's running after a client to chase them, oh, I don't want final expense, I want this. I got to make the sale. I got to make the sale. The same way that they are with their business format, unorganized and no structure, okay, for royalties, no structure for anything, then the same way they are in their finances. They don't pay their taxes. Okay, that is big. Number two, they're offering fixed index ULs to people with average incomes that are making $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a year. They're offering equity index ULs for a solution with a zero cost loan at the end of the year. This way it could be a super Roth IRA. But the second biggest problem is the agents make is they're making $140,000 because they're going off of their format, but they don't have a retirement account. They don't have a retirement account. So that's why only top 10, so there are agents that can make 140, 150, $180,000 in 1 year. I hired someone from a company that you know of, an agency, and his first year he made $200,000. But he was brand new. He's 20 years old, just got out of the Marines. But then his second year, he had $50,000 in chargebacks. All right. Then it paid off because of his residuals and his as earns. So I caught him in the second year. Then I hired him, right? He's all eager, ready to go, but he didn't want to listen to a format. And this is what happened. He made $55,000 within a 3-month period with me. Okay. But then because he's all over the place, that's the way he is in his life, didn't pay taxes and is not saving enough money and is spending money like crazy. He has a family, he has kids, he's supporting. Okay. And so what happens? Loses everything. And he's not in the business anymore. And he has $30,000 in chargebacks. So that's an unorganized type agent. All right. So very, very unorganized. And you don't want that to happen to you. I have a deficit of $7,000 with this gentleman, right? But if I'm making 6 digits, 6 figures on overrides, not just on my personal income, and I have a $7,000 deficit, well, it's my $7,000 deficit that he created. That's how I got to look at it. But we don't want you to fall into that. Was a learning experience that happened to me. We don't want you to fall into that. So that's why we're tightening everything up. And this way, if agents fall off, they fall off, because when you recruit somebody, you're also recruiting their problems here. And the reason why when they come here, they tell you, you promised me this, you promised me that, and the commission is in everything. It's their way that they're doing their business is what's going to help them become successful. So we have to tighten that up, put them in a situation, and on a daily, have them report to us, weekly, daily, depending if you have time. A quick text, let me know how you're doing. Another situation that you may be unaware of is that agents, when they start doing sales, is they're on the phone maybe 30 minutes or an hour only, and then they give up for the day. When I'm on the phone for 8, 9, 10 hours in one day. But that's the difference between making $400,000 and $40,000. Target marketing is the biggest thing, Jose. So if you have 20 leads, which is very, very low, and they should all be on final expense, they should all be on term insurance. They should all be on equity index UL. Let me give you a live example. This week, I'm doing my all my schedules and everything based on financial planning. Okay. And we are experts in final expense, but we are going after the big game. So on my ads, so as I told you, on Wednesday and Thursday, I have hour to hour backed up, right? And some people have a no-show. Okay, I'm not going to say that it's a perfect day and I close everyone. But what happened was, at around 5:30 p.m. on Wednesday, I got a call from someone that answered an ad from like 2 years ago. It had a shelf life of 2 years on Google Ads. They saw my ad, they called me up. Hi, I'm buying insurance. Okay, she sounds like she's 30, 35 years old. So, all right, let me see if I could help her out, because I have a system where I could help her out on term insurance for like 7 minutes, and I could get the policy issued in 7 minutes. So I'm like, okay, that's an opportunity. And it was 5:36 p.m. I'm like, okay, I'm going to make an extra $300, $400, $700, $1,000. Why not? 10 minutes. Okay. So then she starts talking about how it's her for her father, and I started extracting the truth. Somebody gave her a quote on her father for a non-smoker final expense, and I said, "Hey, is your dad a smoker?" She says, "Yeah." Okay, well, the quote that you got before from somebody else, and I know you're shopping me, is a non-smoker. So okay, so the wife, I mean your mom, okay, great. Now here's the situation. So she took me off of my scope. I can't fit her into my schedule, even though it could be a $200 a month sale or $400 a month sale. She took me off of my situation. Who's leading who? She's leading me, right? I'm not leading her. Okay. So now I have to chase her to call her back because she gave me one of these things. Oh, my brother's gonna pay for it and give me the money, and I'm gonna buy it for my parents. That never works. It never works. So I let her know you should buy it for your mom or your dad, and then he should buy it for the other parent. Okay. So now, regardless of whatever the scenario is, it took me off of my financial planning practice, and now she made a big mess. So now, am I on that system? No, I'm not. Now, if I was any other agent, I would be after it, but then it would take me off of my system. So let me tell you what happened. What happened? I said, I'm not going to contact that lady. I'm not going to make a big effort on that lady. I'm going to call her once. If she doesn't answer, she doesn't answer. So the next day I call her again, just once. She didn't answer. Okay, I'm being a good salesperson, but I said I'm not gonna focus on that. So I continue with what I'm doing, right? Instead of scheduling her into my meeting, which would have took an hour from my most important things, I went back to my meeting, and that day I got $63,000 in commission potentials, which we are in this week. $63,000 commission potentials already set up for next week. What's more important, to make $2,000 from this final expense that came off, or $63,000 that's within my scope?
$60,000, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because that's what I'm going off. So let's say that you're doing final expense, and then all of a sudden, instead of doing 35, 40-minute sales, some may take an hour and 15 minutes, some may take an hour and 20, but they're worth it, right? And somebody says, oh, I have an equity index UL that I want to do for my son. Okay, if you could do it right away and you don't have any meetings, then do it. But always come back to your format. Always come back to your format right away, because it's going to take you off of your script and then off of your positive attitude that you already have. And that's why agents say, I don't know what happened. I was already going really good on a Tuesday, and then Wednesday came, and then I had a dry run, and I got nothing. Well, because you're all over the place. You need to master one thing before you can go on to another. What I would like to, basically what I'm pitching to you, just trying to convince you, is to make income every single day. Take care of your family right now, not tomorrow. All right. So that this way you can have a better tomorrow, and everything else is everything else. You can fit it in. That's all we're trying to pitch.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So that's why my question to you, Jose, I'm going to end it because my meeting's at 9. Thank you so much for being here, Jose. But what we should focus on, Jose, is you have these recruits that you want to get into. I'm going to tell you this, Jose, from the bottom of my heart. I'm going to tell you this. If you're not off, just telling you as a friend as well, I'm being sympathetic, okay, not trying to be a boss. But if you don't master the final expense sales first, then they're not going to follow you. Okay. And the biggest problem right now that we have with COVID-19 is that we need to see clients. If you deal with the final expense arena, the people are retired, they're at home. You could work all hours of the day. If you do the mortgage protection, they're not at home, or they're on Zoom trying to make a living, right? And you can't make that sale. And then when you do mortgage protection and equity index UL, most of the time, 90% of the time is after business, after banker hours, 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m. So you're not giving your family father time. You're not giving them husband time. You're not giving, you're trying to be a supporter. And if you are bringing income, you're still struggling because you're not having a balanced life. So that's another big thing that we're promoting here is having a balanced life. Having a balanced life. You heard me mentioning that on Wednesday and Thursday were my eight appointment days.
Uh-huh.
On Monday and Tuesday, I stop after 1 p.m. My last appointment is at 1 p.m. So at 2:30 p.m., I'm taking a drive with the wife, the son. I'm going to the beach. Monday, Tuesday, Friday, I'm going to the beach. Everything else is everything else. I'm leaving everything at home. Somebody wants to see me for equity index UL at 6 p.m. That's not in my scope. That's not in my scope. And I'm going to still make $400,000 this year. So balanced life, balanced mind. That's all we're trying to achieve here, Jose. If you could give me a retrospect on what you just heard today, any positivity that you could use that you would like to continue with us, we would like to definitely keep you into our system and plug you in versus right now we're trying to get you in. We want to plug you in. Give us a feedback, Jose.
I guess as far as the feedback, I would say that it's very important to know what your intentions are. If you are the breadwinner of your family, if you are trying to protect them, I mean, as we were saying, family first. If you have that in your mind every time that you're trying to act, reaching a customer, making the call, or whatever you're trying to do to prospecting it, if just remember your intention. I'm talking to myself. If my intention is to protect my family, to have a happy living, a freedom, a joy, to spend the time with the family, that's what comes first.
Exactly.
And having that joy puts a smile on your heart, and the smile on your heart is going to come with a smile on your face, obviously, and then you're going to be able to make even more business.
Exactly, Jose. And I'm going to give you this last example here. I was before my mindset, I was all over the place. And equity index, UL, final expense, term, index annuities, IRA, quadros, 401k, rollovers, TSPs. And it's date time. It's 6 p.m. I'm on a date with my wife, and I get a text from this guy that wants to be in the business or something that takes me 20 minutes from my date time. And I'm on my date, and we're somewhere extravagant or doing something, and here comes this person that wants to buy life insurance, it's an equity index UL or a term, and then you're on the phone and you're like, well, honey, I gotta make money, honey. I provide, don't I? I provide. You hear that in the movies too, right? How do you think we have everything over the food? What's wrong with being organized and formatted and following the script and going after a target market so that this way you could say, ding. Yeah. And now business is business. It does come first, because it's also your wife, sometimes it's a jealous wife. So, so what's wrong with, there's nothing wrong also with you getting a call. One day you text me, it was a Monday or Tuesday, and I text you right back, but it took me about 30 seconds. It can get annoying to the wife if it's like 10 continuous 20 minutes, but you got to be able to balance it so that this way the wife would be like, okay, no problem. I have his attention 90% of the time on my date, 95% of the time. But the whole goal should be like, hey, you know what? We'll handle it the next day. Okay. And that's what you want, Jose. That's what you really, really should be doing. And if you are doing it, I applaud you. But we just want people to follow us in our steps and have a happy life as well.
If you get the emotional connection with your wife, with your kids, with your customers, I mean, what else can you ask for?
You want your customers, this is what you want when your customers are telling you, you have a great smile.
Oh,
all right. When you're on the phone, you don't hear that. You don't hear that. But when you're on Zoom, this is what they tell you. Oh, you have such a great attitude. I love your smile. I really love your voice, the way it comes across. I love how you give us attention. And then when you're on Zoom and you're doing those presentations, you can see their reactions of how when you're throwing bait at them, you know, with loaded questions, so that this way they can fulfill their hearts with security about their life insurance, their funeral expense. I'm not saying don't do mortgage protection or equity index UL. I'm just saying let's focus on a target market, and let's get all the target market. Let's get it all, but let's do it in an organized way. Jose, what do you say we do that? Are you in? Are you in? All right. Jose, I really thank you for joining me today on this meeting, which is volume number 2, so that this way agents can have something to look at. And it's very difficult when you're doing meetings and you're recruiting, Jose, because somehow you always find yourself running back to the basics, because you're recruiting new agents and you're going back to basics, and it's like you're always stuck teaching somebody how to do quotes, and we don't want to do that. You know, we want to continue on to being advanced trainers. Okay, Jose, so that's another thing that we want to get out of. So really, really appreciate you, and I thank you for that email and the new recruit. We're going to get everything organized for you, and I appreciate you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jose.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Let Mr. Jeff know we had a great time today, a great conversation.
There we are. All right. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.